Hello everyone. Today I'm going to break down the cost of this engine swap project and show you how much I spent on it compared to the lowest that you could spend on it. For those that want the answer right now, that's in Canadian dollars. But the swap has been done for under 10,000 US, and I'll get to why I spent so much in a moment. First, the car. If you are outside the US, these prices will be very different. I researched for a few months using Facebook Marketplace and auto insurance auctions to get an idea. I looked all over the US, and it seems that there is a greater concentration of MR2 Spyders in the southern states. My 2000 MR2 Spyder cost me $2,000 plus $600 shipping from Tennessee to Michigan. This price is very rare, as most others are listed above $4,000 if not $8,000. I got lucky because the 1ZZ engine in the car was smoking and burning oil, and the car had some missing interior pieces. The soft tops on these cars are almost always ripped, and a replacement is about $700, just something to keep in mind. Now the transmission. This is the EB60 from the 2011 to 2016 Scion TC, or the rarer EB62 from the 2010 to 2011 Camry. Same outer case, just different gear ratios. You need to keep your eye out for a recycler that doesn't know the market value of these and lists it cheap, like in my case. I got it from a 2013 TC with about 80,000 miles on it for $1,200 US, but 99% of the used ones are above $2,000. Alternatively, you may buy a manual TC and part it out for less than the cost of just the transmission alone. So that's nice, as you also get an engine and other parts you can sell. This is the biggest area of the swap where you can save money. And if you were doing the 2AR FE instead of the FXE, you can also use the same motor from that TC. So that's nice. This could save you upwards of $3,000. It all depends on how much time you want to spend looking for it. Now the motor. There's more than 1 million or so hybrid Camrys out there, and many at the junkyard. This engine tends to not end up in the junkyard because of failure, but rather a car crash. Toyota hybrid engines in general don't just fail as often as regular motors. They are stressed less because of the CVT and don't idle because of stop-start. So they're almost always good at the junkyard and are super cheap, even less than a few hundred at some locations. Yet I bought mine for $1,400. General price around my area was $1,200 from Carpart, but an extra $200 to get it from a recycler that was reputable was worth it in my opinion. It was out of a 2013 ES300H and had 70,000 miles on it. The internals of the motor were almost perfect and had no signs of old oil buildup, so I was at ease putting it in a car that I wanted to keep for a while. Next is the swap kit. Compared to other swap kits, this seems to be less costly and very easy to put together. The parts have been well made and tested, so I do feel comfortable using them. Excluding the ECU, it's about $2,900 US. It includes the mounts, the header, shifter mechanism, body controller, and some custom adapters. The Haltech Elite 1500 was $1,500 US and $300 for the wideband controller. Currently, the FXE swap needs an aftermarket ECU to run, as the exhaust cam is advanced and the stock ECU doesn't like that. But a future cam should be able to fix that. The wideband was in case I wanted to boost the engine later, and either way the Haltech has an easier time controlling the engine with it. The automatic Camry harness was $150, as it is less rare than the manual TC harness. It wasn't too difficult to rewire it. The TC harness may go for upwards of $300. Remanufactured alternator was $200. It's not worth it to service the alternator a month or two later because you got it used, and I didn't want that headache. New mechanical water pump and a used housing, because the FXC has an electric pump, was $200. The electric pump may go for $100 if you can find someone who needs it. Belt tensioner was $100, belt was $20. $400 for an ACT clutch kit, $300 for a new intake cam, $100 for a refurbished stock battery, $250 for the 3 remanufactured axles, and all of the car fluids were $200. 6-inch filter for $60, coolant tee, AN fittings, clamps, barb fittings, Earl's vapor guard hoses and lines were $200. Transmission accumulator and bleeder were also $200. Axle bracket bearing for $50 and clutch throwout bearing for $100. Few items that I got used: $100 for the injectors, $30 for the throttle body, $50 for the intake manifold, $25 for the drive-by wire pedal, $30 for the starter, $50 for the extra VVTi solenoid and cam sensor, $120 for a double VVTi cam carrier, $50 for a double VVTi valve cover. These two were just from an FE motor. Camry intake tube for $30, axle bracket carrier for $50, and miscellaneous items for maybe $100. The tools cost about $200. The engine crane, I was able to get it used for $100, and I sold it for that same price. As for the tools, those will always come in handy, and they're always good to have around. That's pretty much what it takes. Not everyone will have the same cost. In my case, I needed new wheels because my old ones were dry rotted, and I needed a new soft top because mine was ripped. And I'll have to do something about the paint, most likely a vinyl wrap. The exhaust setup was $300, but most of that was my fault. But as far as the swap is concerned, it cost me about 15,000 US. Yeah, more than I thought for sure. My original budget was $10,000, but that was without me considering all of the smaller items, and those do add up. This swap has been done for under 10,000 US, so it's my fault that I spent this much. Still, things that I learned from this swap are worth the money and more. I wouldn't have been able to get this sort of experience or learn this much from anywhere else for anywhere near the same price. So I do think that it is worth it. And now I have a car that outperforms most sports cars around the track, and for maybe a quarter of the price, all the while being so much more reliable and much cheaper to maintain. Thanks for watching.